Hey there guys, alright, today we are back with some more feature history, this time the fall of Yugoslavia, part 1 of 2. Before we dive into the video, make sure you go check out the links below in my description box or in my pinned comment in the comments section. I have a link to my Twitch channel where I stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Fridays, and Saturdays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. US Central Standard Time. Would love it if you went ahead and threw me a follow and came and hang out in the chat. The other link is a link to my gaming channel here on YouTube where I am just uploading old stream VODs that are no longer available over at Twitch. So now that that's out of the way, go ahead and dive into this video. I feel like the fall of Yugoslavia, once Tito died, I think that really started the downfall there. Tito is one of those, I guess, rare figures in history that could make things work. And then also like the amount of the Slavic peoples of Yugoslavia, they are very culturally diverse. They are, every single one of those nations is very different from the other. One of them is, I believe, a Muslim country, is Islamic, while the others are Catholic, or Orthodox Catholic, or Greek Orthodox Christianity, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I don't know too much about Yugoslavia. I just know that in the 1990s, there was an attempted genocide from one of the former Yugoslavian nations on attempting to genocide another member. And then there was the whole Kosovo incident. Yeah, that's pretty much my knowledge of Yugoslavia. Let's go ahead and dive in.
Today we're going to crack open the case on Yugoslavia, or should I say, Yugoslavia.
Now,
I'm gonna kill myself.
I love their intro. Love it. It's catchy.
Hello and welcome to Feature History, featuring the fall of Yugoslavia and most likely a shitstorm in the comments. Now,
Ooh, fuck. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that comment section probably sucks.
this video, or videos, are going to be quite long and complicated, so I'm not going to pad this intro out too long, like I'm doing right now. Should really stop. The series of wars that saw the end of Yugoslavia brought a close on an era and opened a new one alongside the dawn of a new millennia. This new era began in an orgy of violence, war crimes, and geopolitics.
Orgy, yeah, that's one word to use.
Great stuff. But first I should bring us back to the old era. And the older era. Maybe even the older era. Get someone to eat.
How about the older
Yeah,
era?
this will be a long one. The Balkans, for a measurably long-ass time, has been an ethnically diverse region in Europe. It served as the border of Western, Eastern, and Islamic worlds. Its long history consists of many independent kingdoms as well as even more empires attempting to conquer the region. The Byzantines, Ottomans, and Austrians all took their shot at the region, but as nationalism took hold in the late 19th century, things were to change. Yugoslavia, a unified kingdom of southern Slavs, was the dream of their intellectuals as early as the 17th century. It'd be the ticket to their independence, a state united and a state that could resist foreign tyranny. Near the end of World War I, the southern Slavs under Austro-Hungarian rule broke away as a state of Slovenes, Croats, and Serbs. The whole thing was a bit of a mess, and they turned to the only person who had an army in the area, the Kingdom of Serbia. They willingly entered a state of union with Serbia and Montenegro, forming the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes on December 1st, 1918. It was later retitled to the Kingdom of Yugoslavia in 1929, considering the old name was shit. Time passed and the kingdom was alright. But in the late 1930s, their province of Croatia was pressured by Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy into pushing for more autonomy, and perhaps even independence. In 1941, the kingdom was invaded, divided, and conquered. The Croatians were offered an independent state by the Germans. Under a
Yeah, if you could really call it independent.
checkered flag, the separatist Croatians were encouraged to begin a genocide against the Serbs.
Oh, yeah, there's one genocide,
their
yeah.
old religious rivalries. Throughout the war, royalists and partisans fought against the occupation. Communist revolutionary Josip Broz Tito distinguished himself when
Absolute Chad. Absolute
he
mad.
led the partisans to victory. Tito's partisans were devoted to him, and so the former monarch of Yugoslavia was to remain in exile as Tito, with some support from the Soviets, established the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia in 1945. The country was organized as a federation of 6 socialist republics: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Slovenia, and Serbia. In addition, Serbia held the 2 autonomous states of Kosovo and Vojvodina, and hosted the country's capital of Belgrade. Under Tito, the country was a dictatorship, a one-party state with a president for life. It operated on propaganda and doing whatever was necessary to maintain brotherhood and unity. Due to disagreements with Stalin and risking a near war with the Soviets, Yugoslavia became a strange blend of East and West in a time where that wasn't a good idea. It was a great idea though, as foreign aid came in from both sides and the country began to liberalise and form a unique brand of socialism known as Titoism. Tito would evoke his former life as a poor farmer and his reputation as a war hero to remain relatable and beloved with the people he reigned over. He was quick to crack down on nationalistic sentiment and so held the country together firmly, but all knew it couldn't last. Tito died on May 4th, 1980, aged 87. The old man had left the people, and so what was after Tito? Well, Tito. The presidency was decentralized and became collective, made up of representatives and a mostly symbolic president of the presidency. It tried to pretend for almost a decade that Tito was living on. Only when the Cold War ended, the foreign aid ceased and the economy came tumbling down did the people realize Tito was gone. The problems caused people to search for someone to blame. In Kosovo, the blame was put on the Albanians living in the area. Kosovar Serbs claimed Kosovar Albanians were pushing them out of the country and began a counter-movement against this. President of Serbia, Ivan Stambolic, decided he would send his right-hand man Slobodan Milosevic to quell the unrest in 87. When he arrived, however, he spoke only what the Kosovar Serbs wanted to hear. He created himself a devoted following. In what would be called the anti-bureaucratic revolution, he used his supporters to force governments in Vojvodina, Montenegro and Kosovo to be replaced with his allies. Eventually, Stambolic was forced to resign in favour of Milosevic in 89. With he and his allies in control of many areas in Yugoslavia, his representative in the presidency, Borisav Jovic, led a voting bloc. The power was used to erode the autonomy of Kosovo and Vojvodina. The Albanian miners of Kosovo collaborated in a strike against this in 89. Milosevic had federal police troops moved in. With this, he could crack down on the Albanians. This kind of action did not sit well with the republics of Croatia and Slovenia. Slovenia's media ran with stories of Milosevic the fascist. Milosevic deemed that this was only spreading unfounded fear of Serbia and attempted to see authorities restrict Slovenia's press, only driving further sentiment that Slovenia must escape Serbia's influence. Milosevic attempted to use his Kosovar Serbs to depose Slovenia's dissident president, Milan Kucan. Croatia backed up Slovenia, refusing passage to the protesters. The political stalemate led to the 14th Congress being convened in January 1990. The Congress was attended by delegates from all republics and provinces. The debate was reform, whether to offer more autonomy to the republics of Yugoslavia or to build a stronger state of brotherhood and unity. Every proposal from Kucan was shot down by the Serbian voting bloc. The climate became tense and very, very frustrating. The Slovenian delegation walked, leaving the Congress. When Milosevic attempted to continue without them, Croatia, Macedonia and Bosnia and Herzegovina walked too. There was no unity to be found.
It's so weird, like, I mean, especially as someone who, you know, the history that I study is early medieval time period. No, they misspelled republic. Republic. Yeah. But I don't know, it's always weird to me when you see footage of these of historical events. It's like, what? Oh god, I had to yawn. But like, the collapse of the Soviet Union feels like so long ago, but decent quality recording footage existed. I don't know, like, shit was on national television. I don't know why I find it weird, but
when each republic held their first ever free election, nationalist parties began to defeat the former communist ones in Macedonia, Slovenia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Croatia. In Croatia, the controversial Franjo Tudjman had come to power under the promise to protect them from Milosevic. His nationalistic sentiment and his readiness to embrace the old checkered flag brought back painful memories of the genocides that had scarred many Serbian families. The Croatian Serbs refused to let this happen again and rose up in Kanin in August, securing small arms and barricading roads. They demanded that if Croatia chose to secede, that the Serbian majority areas, or as they would later proclaim themselves, the Republic of Serbian Krajina, would not. Borisav Jovic, now head of the Yugoslav presidency, was ready to offer support to the Croatian Serbs' concerns. Tudjman, however, would not accept this and had helicopters dispatched to Kanin ready to put down the rebellion. Jovic showed his hand when 2 Yugoslav fighter jets intercepted the helicopters and forced them to return to base. Serbia's influence had now consumed the Yugoslav People's Army, and so Tudjman would have to find his own way to fight. Hungarian arms began to be smuggled into Croatia, and at the same time Slovenes held a referendum asking the people if they desired independence. The people answered yes. The results of the referendum and later in 91, the exposure of Croatians' arms smuggling led
My entire secret plan, do not
to
touch.
the army command requesting the presidency enact a state of emergency. Croatian representative Stipe Mjesic strongly debated the army head in Jovic. He accused the two of attempting to create a greater Serbia, whereas the army head insisted foreign powers were conspiring to destroy Yugoslavia. Regardless if either were true or not, it would mean war. The vote was placed in the Bosnian representative's hands, and after some serious umming and erring, it was rejected. Things calmed very slightly. But when Jovic's term came to an end in May and it was time that Mjesic took head, he was blocked and the title offered to another Milosevic loyalist. The Croatians responded with an independence referendum that won in a landslide, most likely because the Croatian Serbs didn't show up to vote. On June 25th, 1991, both the republics of Slovenia and Croatia declared their independence, beginning the very violent domino collapse of Yugoslavia. The fighting in Croatia had been on for some time, but now with official declarations, the YPA saw fit to involve themselves. They moved an army to Slovenia's border, which immediately prompted reactions from the Slovenes. The meant-to-be, but they totally didn't, decommissioned territorial defences prepared resistance on border checkpoints and important roads, repelling the relatively small initial Yugoslav force. A short war with little casualties, a rarity in future, the conflict would be creatively named the 10-Day War. The European community placed pressure on the belligerents to open negotiations, leading to the Brioni Agreement on July 7, 1991. Croatia, Slovenia and Yugoslavia agreed to withdraw the YPA from Slovenia and allow Slovenia to take control of their borders, given that Croatia and Slovenia suspend their declarations for 3 months. This 3 months barely phased the fighters battling in Croatia, but Slovenia used this time to make themselves into an actual country, while the YPA prepared an invasion into that country that couldn't fail. The plan was scrapped though on the reason that it's Slovenia who gives a shit, and so Slovenia had slipped away, but at the cost of leaving Croatia in the YPA's sights. Tudjman's fight stemmed from his insistence that he'd defend every inch of Croatia. In spite of it though, the rebels had made great successes, securing many Serb-majority towns and then some. Yugoslavia offered support as well, giving the rebels equipment and artillery. Later the YPA itself arrived at the border as peacekeepers that allow the rebels to push forward and siege Vukovar in August. Things looked fairly bleak in Yugoslavia. So bleak that Macedonia passed a referendum and left. Just like that. Really makes everything seem a bit dramatic. The bleakness also caught the attention of The Hague, who arranged a peace conference with all 6 presidents. Tudjman insisted Croatia had the right to secede. Milosevic countered that then Krajina should too. Lord Carrington, head of the conference, asked if Milosevic would be prepared to accept Croatian independence if it was subject to the human rights of Serbs living outside of Serbia. Milosevic answered yes. When the written deal arrived though, it stated that all 6 republics would take this route. Milosevic could not agree. He had no intentions of breaking up Yugoslavia. By November, Vukovar fell, and those who had resisted were subject to massacre. By the dawn of 1992, a UN ceasefire would put a pause to the pain. However, another conflict had been brewing alongside the Battle of Vukovar. Yep, that's enough of that. I nearly would have gone and spoiled you there. Part 2 will be out around the end of the month if I actually stick to schedule. So,
Alright, that was Feature History's Fall of Yugoslavia, Part 1 of 2. Yeah, this was very much set up information for then the events that the wider world knows of the fall of Yugoslavia, which is fighting in Kosovo, the Croatian War of Independence, all this, the brutal stuff, the brutal shit that like a lot of people know about. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.